This is Meet Sean, where we break down real life topics insurance, annuities, real estate, travel planning, and home ownership so you can make smarter moves. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
Okay, so let's dive into this. We've got this incredible stack of sources in front of us, all about planning one of those, real bucket list trips, an African safari.
Right.
And when you first think about it, you get these amazing images in your head, right? The big five, these huge open savannas.
Mm-hmm.
But the sources all point out this one common mistake people make right at the start. They treat safari like it's this single, uniform thing.
It's so true. And is anything but. I mean, the sheer number of choices, which country, what kind of lodge, even what kind of vehicle you're in, it can get overwhelming really, really fast.
You can turn excitement into anxiety.
Exactly. So our mission today in this deep dive is to kind of give you a shortcut. We want to guide you through that research so you can make this the trip of a lifetime.
So for you, the listener, who's maybe past the daydreaming stage, what does this actually mean? Well, based on all these guys we've gone through, it all hinges on three big decisions. We're calling them the big three planning pillars.
You really have to lock these down first.
1, what is your main wildlife goal? 2, what's your realistic budget? And 3, which is critical, what are the safety and logistical needs for your destination?
Let's start with wildlife because honestly, that's where it all begins.
Has to be.
If your dream is to see those iconic animals, the lion, leopard, rhino, elephant, Cape buffalo, the big five, your list of potential countries narrows down pretty quickly.
That's a great way to start. It immediately gives you a focus. The big five dictates the kind of habitat you need to be in. And the sources really emphasize that for that classic broad viewing experience, you're looking at specific places. Places like, say, South Africa's Kruger National Park or the Serengeti in Tanzania.
Absolutely. Those are like the ecosystem strongholds for that kind of diversity. But the destination choice really, really hinges on what you prioritize.
So if it's not the big five.
Well, if you want something more specialized, like, let's say, seeing rare black rhinos, you might look at a high conservation reserve like a Makaya in Eswatini. Or if you want primates, you're not going to the Serengeti. You're looking at Uganda or Rwanda.
You have to match the habitat to the animal. It sounds simple, but I think people forget that.
It do.
Okay, so once you have that goal, you have to pivot immediately to pillar 2, the money, the cost.
Yeah, and this is where the planning spectrum just explodes. The range is massive.
And where most of us get overwhelmed, I imagine.
I think so. But here's where we can really distill the insights. The cost basically breaks down into 3 pretty distinct tiers. And understanding what you get at each level is, well, it's critical.
All right, let's start at the entry point, the budget-conscious option.
Okay, so for those starting out, you can find options, often camping safaris, for around $125 per person per night.
And what does that actually feel like?
It's more of an adventure, for sure. You're often setting up your own tent, maybe sharing cooking duties. It's authentic, it's immersive, but you have to be flexible. You're participating.
Right. It's not just a viewing experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move up. What if I'm in that mid-range, maybe averaging around $350 a night? What am I paying for there? Is it just, like, better food?
Hey, it's a bit more than that. You're paying for comfort and for access.
Okay.
Mid-range usually means you're staying in permanent tented camps or comfortable lodges, and it almost always includes good guided game drives. You're balancing the cost with, guaranteed comfort.
And then we get to the top tier. It can go from $500 to $1,500, even higher. What's the fundamental difference there? It can't just be luxury lemons.
No. The key word for the high-end luxury tier is access.
Access.
You're paying for exclusivity. You're often in private concessions like Sabi Sands in South Africa, which means the number of vehicles is strictly limited. No crowds.
Ah, so you're not fighting with 10 other Jeeps for the same view of a lion.
Exactly. You get private vehicles, personalized schedules, and you can often do things that are forbidden in the national parks, like driving off-road to get closer to a sighting or doing night drives.
That's the key insight. You're paying to limit the competition.
Okay.
Pillar 3, safety and logistics. This sounds obvious, but the sources frame it as something you just cannot skip.
It is absolutely non-negotiable. This is all about researching the current safety situation, getting your documents in order, and checking on health risks.
Vaccinations and things like that.
Right. Malaria prophylaxis is often a must, depending on where and when you go. You have to check official travel advisories. Ignoring this part can end your trip before it even starts.
Okay, so we know our goals. We have a budget in mind. Let's talk geography. The sources gave us 10 amazing destinations, but let's focus on the real aha moments from the top ones. What makes them unique?
I think we have to start where the spectacle is basically guaranteed. East Africa. It's synonymous with one thing, really.
The Great Migration.
The Great Migration.
So we're talking about Kenya, specifically the Masai Mara National Reserve. This is that huge cyclical movement of thousands upon thousands of wildebeest and zebras crossing the Mara River.
It's an unbelievable sight.
But Kenya is not just that. There's also Amboseli National Park, which gives you those iconic, almost cinematic views of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania looming over these giant herds of elephants.
And if you're chasing the migration, you have to look at Tanzania too, especially Serengeti National Park. But what's really fascinating there, and something planners need to know, is the Ngorongoro crater.
Okay, hold on. The sources call it the world's largest caldera. Can you just clarify what that actually means for a safari? Why did that matter?
It's a great question. A caldera is basically a giant collapsed volcano. So the Ngorongoro crater has these natural 1,000-foot walls that have created a self-contained ecosystem.
A natural enclosure.
Essentially, yeah. And it holds an incredible concentration of wildlife all year round. It's almost a guaranteed spot for game viewing. You can do everything there. Walking tours, drives, you name it.
That's amazing.
Ah.
Okay, let's move south. We've got the giants of southern Africa, which seem to offer more structured, conservation-focused trips.
Yeah.
South Africa is the classic choice, right?
It is. It's known for just how diverse its landscapes are. Deserts, mountains, grasslands. And within Kruger National Park, you have places like the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, which is famous for almost guaranteed sightings of leopards.
Elusive leopards.
Very elusive leopards. South Africa is great because it balances self-drive options with those really high-end guided experiences in the private reserves.
Then there's Botswana. The sources describe it as the jewel of pristine wilderness, the Okavango Delta.
It's incredible. And if seeing massive elephant herds is your one single goal, then Chobe National Park is where you have to go. We're talking about seeing hundreds of elephants at once.
Wow.
And Zimbabwe offers a slightly different kind of experience. Hwange National Park also has huge elephant populations, but Manipul's National Park is really highlighted for its immersive walking safaris.
So you're on foot.
You're on foot, tracking game with professional guides. It's a completely different kind of adrenaline rush. It's intimate, it's profound.
All right, let's shift gears to the really unique destinations, the ones that offer something totally outside that Big Five norm. I'm thinking of Namibia.
Ah, the photographer's paradise.
Exactly.
Namibia is just transcendental. It's all about the landscape. You have the towering red dunes of Sossusvlei, that eerie, almost alien landscape of Deadvlei with its ancient trees.
It looks like another planet.
It really does. And then there's Etosha National Park, which is this huge salt pan. It creates these very unique conditions where animals have to congregate around the few water sources.
And finally, let's touch on the specialized primate encounters. Uganda and Rwanda.
Right. Uganda's Bwindi Impenetrable National Park is the prime spot for trekking endangered mountain gorillas.
And Rwanda has Volcanoes National Park,
which offers a similar, very high-end, highly restricted experience. The sources really stress that these are not cheap trips. You need permits months in advance.
And it's a real trek, right? A challenging hike.
Oh, yeah. But that hour you get to spend quietly observing a gorilla family in the wild, it's unmatched. And that high cost goes directly into the conservation efforts that protect these incredible animals.
So we know where we want to go. Now we have to figure out the how and the when. Let's start with the experience itself. The type of safari you pick really dictates the whole feel of the trip.
That's right. The classic is the game drive in an open or a closed vehicle. And morning and evening drives offer totally different things.
How so?
Well, morning is often when predators are most active. But the evening light, that golden hour, is when you get those absolutely stunning backdrops for your photos.
But if you want to get out of the vehicle, you can do a walking safari like we mentioned at Manipul's.
Exactly. They're described as truly immersive. You're connecting with the environment on its own terms. You notice the small things, the tracks, the insects, the plants that you just blow past in a Jeep.
And then there are boat safaris?
A completely different perspective. Gliding through waterways, especially in a place like the Okavango Delta, you see hippos, crocs, and so many birds that are often spooked by land vehicles.
Okay, so regardless of the type, we have to talk about the tour operator.
Yeah.
If you're spending this much money, you need a partner you can trust. What should you prioritize when you're vetting an operator?
Reputation is everything. And the sources really stress looking beyond just the glossy brochures.
Sure.
You need to research their track record, of course, customer satisfaction, but also, and this is crucial, their commitment to ethical and sustainable tourism.
What does that mean in practice?
It means asking. Are they employing local guides? Do they respect the animal's boundaries? Are they transparent about how much of your fee goes directly back into conservation? That's what turns an expensive drive into a rich, responsible adventure.
That's a powerful point. The right operator handles the logistics, so you can just focus on the experience. Okay, last big piece, the when. Timing is everything.
It really is. The general rule for most of sub-Saharan Africa is to go during the dry season, which usually runs from June to October.
And why is the dry season so consistently better for game viewing? Is it just about the water holes?
It's sort of a three-part answer. First, the weather is just cooler, more pleasant. Second, and this is a big one, the vegetation thins out. There's literally less for the animals to hide behind.
Makes sense.
And third, yes, water becomes scarce, which forces wildlife to gather predictably at those water holes. It makes sightings much, much easier.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. But there are trade-offs, right? The sources give some specific timing details.
For sure. In Kenya and Tanzania, that prime viewing time lines up perfectly with the Great Migration, so July to September. But if you happen to be a passionate bird watcher, the wet season, November to May, is when huge flocks of migratory birds arrive. Mammal viewing is harder, but the birding is spectacular.
And what about Southern Africa? South Africa, Botswana?
Same general rule. The dry winter from May to October is best for seeing animals at the water holes. But, again, look at the trade-off. The wet season in the Kalahari Desert, November to April, turns the whole landscape into this lush green carpet.
And that's when you see all the baby animals.
Exactly, all the newborns. So you have to decide, guaranteed viewing in a starker landscape or a greener world full of new life.
And we can't forget the budget connection here. Dry season is high season. Prices will be higher.
Absolutely. You might find some serious savings if you travel in the shoulder or wet seasons, as long as you're okay with the viewing conditions that come with it. You have to balance what you want to see with those practical cost considerations.
So we've covered a lot. The cost, the destinations, the types of safari, the best time to go. I think the big takeaway here is that if you do your planning, you really can't go wrong. Let a vetted, experienced operator handle the small stuff.
Precision planning is exactly how you turn that travel dream into a reality. And the sources are so consistent on this point. Whether you choose that authentic $125 a night camping trip or the $1,500 luxury lodge, an African safari is it's a priceless experience.
It promises encounters with incredible ecosystems, wildlife, and just this really profound cultural richness.
It does.
You work with partners who know their stuff, who can build a trip that matches your goals, and then you can just focus on immersing yourself in the wonder of it all.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to consider as you plan your adventure. You know now that beyond just chasing the big five, there are these other highly specialized experiences out there.
Yeah.
So given the options, from that intimate, adrenaline-filled walking safari in Zimbabwe's mana pools to the demanding gorilla trek in Uganda, or even seeing the surreal, otherworldly landscape of the Avenue of the Baobabs in Madagascar, what stands out to you as the ultimate, non-wildlife, purely photographic landscape you would prioritize for your adventure? Think about that as you lock down your final destination.
That's it for today's Meet Sean. If this helped, follow the show and share this episode with one person who needs it. See you next time.